Hi, I'm Wayne Jones. Welcome to Writing and Editing, the podcast for anyone who writes, edits, reads, or listens. Jennia D'Lima is the host of today, and her guest is Harry Carpenter, founder of Fright Reads. This is A Frightful Festivity, episode 230 of the podcast.
An author, but he's also the creator of Fright Reads Book Festival. Harry, I'd love to hear how you started with this book festival and what made you decide that this was something you wanted to do.
So I'm going to preface this with, do you want the real story, or do you want the public-facing, nice, good story that I tell
Never.
people?
We always want the real story.
So, I always tell people, like, I just wanted to have a fun book festival. And they're like, that's great. And they write that down. Anybody that knows me personally knows that Fright Reads was literally created out of spite.
As best things are.
as most good things should be. So are you familiar with Futurama?
Yes.
Bender, the robot, once said something like, fine, I'll just have my own blank with hookers and blackjack. That adage is literally how Fright Reads was created. I applied to be at a horror book festival. Well, I tried to be at a horror book festival, and they told me that I wasn't the right horror that they were looking for.
Oh.
And I pretty much turned around and said, fine, I'll make my own horror book festival with hookers and blackjack.
Haven't seen it.
And I was joking about that. And then I was like, why don't I make my own horror book festival? And me and a couple of friends kind of kicked the idea around. And I said, I think we could do this because I've got a network of about, 5 or 6 horror or horror adjacent authors.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a good foundation on it. I got a bunch of friends that want to sell their wares. I'm kind of embedded into 2 or 3 different independent bookstores nearby. I think we could do this. And then that was in 2019. And then I had all of 2020. For some reason, nobody could leave the house. Things were, all online. So we had a lot of time to think. And in 2021, there came Fright Reads from all of that planning and pondering and scheming. And then you saw year 3, what it turned into.
Yeah, and year 4 looks like it's going to be even bigger and better.
Oh, man, yes. Like, if you look back, so I did an event with Richard Chismar over the weekend, and he was our year 1 guest. Talk about wasting the good guy on year 1. We should have just had nothing but indie people, but we had the fantastic Richard Chismar, who, if anybody doesn't know, he wrote with Stephen King, the Gwendy's Button Box and all of that stuff. And he also has a book called Chasing the Boogeyman, which debuted at that year. And then he just released Becoming the Boogeyman, which is kind of like a sequel, prequel type of thing. But he showed up to this event. We had 22 tables of vendors, 22. 4 of them didn't show up.
Oh, no.
And we had, it was in this basement community center that had absolutely atrocious Wi-Fi. Nobody could connect their point of sale systems. There's about 100 hotspots running, trying to get everybody connected. And that wasn't enough to deter us from having a year 2 and ultimately year 3. And now
year 4,
planning for 4, yeah.
Do you tend to have a lot of the same people come back year after year? Have you noticed that so far? Or do you also have a really good mix of new people who haven't been there before?
So what's cool is there are about we only had like 20 tables for year 1, but half of those guys have been coming back year to year. So when you walked in, if you saw Things Forsaken, which were those guys with the baby doll heads and the electric chair and all of that, they were there in year 1. And they took a big chance. They said, this seems like a fun event, and have been, they're invested every year. That's where they're at. They're like, put me in, coach. I'm here all the time. Like I've had, who else have we had that's been there? Beautiful Bracelets.
We talked to her.
Yeah, Lauren, she's been there since year 1. She's been, she looks forward to it every year, and I'm excited for her that she gets excited for it. So we do have a lot of these people. I was going to say Clayton Toon is another author that's been there since year 1. Tim Baldwin. So we got a lot of these names, and there's a lot of people that since our second year came back for year 3 and are already invested in year 4. So while they weren't there since day 1, they're just as family, and I get to know all these people. But then the really cool thing is I see some of the same attendees.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's, one or two that will come up to me and just, I'm busy. I am so overwhelmingly busy, but I will stop and talk to them because they're just like, I got to come out again. And I'm like, yay, you did. They're like, I'm surprised I made it here. And I'm like, me too. I'm surprised I'm here.
And I
But
can personally attest that, yes, you actually do stop and say hello and do that, even when you are probably really flustered.
I would, flustered is really, really like, making it sound too simple. Flustered's a very, very light word.
Hamsters got off the wheel.
The hamster's stuck to the wheel and the wheel is still spinning. That's where we're at. But yeah, I stopped and talked to people.
And that's why you just get flustered.
Yeah. And I get to know all these different people and these attendees that just keep coming back and keep coming back. And I love seeing the same people. It means that A, I'm doing something right and they feel like they want to support it. And B, I'm doing enough new stuff that makes it feel fresh and not the same thing as you just did last time.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
the
really
other
important
half.
for repeated attendance, right? Because if there's not anything new, what else is there to lure you into paying for another ticket and investing that weekend?
Exactly.
What are some of the things that you've added that you didn't have in the very first year?
So everything that you see behind that door, that's what we added since year one. Everything. It's really night and day from year one. So I bought out a little conference room in the building and we had panels. They were poorly attended and nobody knew where they were, and they were at the other end of the building. So it did not go too well. So part of year two, having Benfield Sports Center, we were able to put the stage in. So the stage was new.
Oh, okay.
So with that stage, I was like, we can do other weird stuff on this stage. So we kind of got together and had an Authors 101 panel, which there's a lot of people that are aspiring authors or thinking about doing it or considering it, or maybe they wrote something down and don't know what step 2 is. That's what that was designed for. I was on the one last year, but I just did not have it in me this year. I stuck 4 unfortunate souls up there to talk about it, and 3 out of the 4 were returning people from the panel the previous year.
Oh, nice.
And we went from 30 minutes to an hour of that. Because that was a very informative and very well-received panel, and probably out of anything on that stage was the highest attended thing.
That's good.
The other thing that was another big hit was, did you get to sit in on the magic show?
Yeah, we were over to the side and we watched part of it, so we got to hear the glass sound effect really, really well.
Isn't that gross? That was an idea we had last year, and I grabbed the mic and
blinking and looking away and covering her eyes the whole time.
So he is a good friend of mine, and a mutual friend said, "Hey, I got a buddy of mine. You need to check out this Niox Mayhem. Like he's doing little itty bitty shows for small groups of people inside like VFW halls or something. Like he's doing these little things, but he has the potential to do something greater if he has the platform." And I was like, "Whatever, dude, have fun." So I brought him in last year. And he was so nervous. I loved it because I'm watching him on stage because I was also running the sound as well. So I'm running the event, I'm running my table, and I'm running the sound.
Man, you're everywhere.
So I'm watching him on stage. I ended up heckling him to try to take the edge off because he's up there and his hands are just shaking.
Oh, no.
And I was like, "You're all right, man. Calm down." But he wasn't getting that. So like I was just kind of making him laugh and kind of, bringing him down a little bit. But this year, I think he had it down. He was like, I know what to expect. He had no idea last year that he'd have almost 75 people staring at him. It's just that they're there for him. They're not there to shop around. And he's background noise. They're staring at him.
Was standing room only. I mean, you had like 3-4 lines of people standing up around the chairs. Everyone kind of trying to angle in and get any view at all.
We had 50 chairs. We thought 50 was good because that's 50. That's a lot of chairs. Apparently we were dead wrong, but he's another addition that we will keep bringing back. I think we're going to push him to two shows now. We're going to have him do 2 performances so he can get some more weird stuff. But the glass thing, that's so gross. Like we had the idea last year while he was stepping on them, I grabbed the mic from the stage and put it near the glass, and you could just hear the crunching and the popping. And you were
Yes.
just watching everybody dry heave in the
And
aisles.
for anyone, because people aren't going to know, he's
Yeah.
walking
So
barefoot across this path of broken glass.
yes,
And his feet are like baby smooth at the end.
right, he moisturizes.
Yes, he has to.
Yeah. So we had that was new, and like this is just from year 1 to year 2, the type of things that we were able to do. So we had a better platform, and we were able to have like author discussions and things like that. As you know, you were up there for one of them. We had all these cool things that we were able to do this year. We also had a rock concert. We had a live musical performance. This year was First Jason. It's Ari Lehman, the first Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. He has a rock band. If you're going to do one thing, capitalize on it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're the first Jason. I have a band named First Jason. Every song's going to be about Jason Voorhees, and I love it. But he came up there and melted a bunch of faces with some 80s style sounding metal. And we had a good time. So that was something that was also well received, and we're going to look into doing maybe shift with some of the programming. We have a couple of live musical performances throughout the weekend.
Okay, so that's something to look forward to for this year, possibly?
Probably, yeah. I mean, we're in the design phases of just this. The next 2 months are literally just hey, it'd be cool. What if we got Michael Keaton? He was in a horror movie a couple of times, and it's like, great idea. Not going to happen, but I like the enthusiasm.
Right. Write it down and then cross it off.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just like we shoot high and then hone it into what we want. And we're looking at a couple of different authors and some different people that we can bring in. I'm trying to pull in Richard Chismar again, be like, come on back, come on for 4. This is going to be the one for you. But yeah, we did a lot of new stuff since year 1 and even year 2. We've added more and more stuff. So we're just trying to incorporate new things that work, find out what didn't work last one, and nix those real quick and focus on the things that did work.
So how much of this do you do all on your own, and how much of it do you, I don't want to say outsource, but how much of it do you allow someone else to have input in and help you with?
I do 110% of it.
Oh my goodness.
I build the website. I am the person behind the emails. I am the Facebook. I do the artwork, the graphics, the programming, the vendor management, all of it.
So all those Facebook posts and everything, is all you?
Yes.
Wow.
It is me. The exception is a couple of months ago, everybody got to know the world famous Ryan because I thanked him heavily because year 2, the rental company dropped all of the tables and chairs down at the curb. And he was the only person that could come running to help me. We carried all the tables and chairs and stage into the building and set them up, the 2 of us together.
How much
for
time
almost
do you have
15
to
hours.
do that?
Like 15 hours for the 2 of us. We had no spine by the time we got to Saturday. Neither of us could feel our bodies. And I thanked him heavily because we were 1 day last year, and Saturday ended and we had to take the tables and chairs back down. And he's right back into the fire, pulling tables and chairs down. And I was like, I'm going to thank him heavily. So Ryan is the other, you'll see him post as the great old one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's occasionally Ryan will find something funny online, and he has admin rights to post a thing or 2 now and then, just to kind of, I told him, I was like, just give me some goofy, spooky posts every once in a while. Just when I'm doing admin and work level stuff, give me something goofy and fun to throw in there.
Yeah.
But he
steal those memes a lot and share them with people.
Right. But he's been the one to I've bounced off ideas, or I'll have him look over the website and be like, does this look stupid? And then he'll say, yeah, but it'll work.
It's always good to have that voice of reason to rein you in when you need to be reined in.
Yeah. So this event this year, we realized that it's going to only get bigger. So I'm bringing in a team of people. So when we did the walkthrough for the new venue, I literally had one of my volunteers, Steve. I had one of the vendors, Brian Paoni. He's one of the sci-fi horror authors. Okay. And I said, and the girl that crawled out of the TV,
Oh yeah.
I had the Samara herself there because I said, I want three different facets of eyes looking at this. I want somebody that's going to be, on the business level with me. We're going to look at it from a logistical standpoint. And I have Brian there to look at it from a vendor standpoint. Like,
That's smart.
does this work for you? Like, if you set up in here and people were coming in the door, is this a cool place to, would you be good with this? And, seeing it from like an attendee type of standpoint, because that's what I kind of had Becky for, even though she was crawling out of my TV and stuff.
Right. Well, she did wander around a lot, so she had a pretty good idea of what the vibe was like in the atmosphere.
And she does a lot of different events, and she's kind of all over the place. So she's just like, this is a very smart move. I think this will be it. So we're all kind of on the same page with that. But we're all collectively now coming up with ideas, and I'm working with other people. So now instead of me doing 110%, I'm doing about 95.
So
which
the
is
hamster
still
has
progress.
this year.
It's still progress.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think one thing too that really sets your event apart is that it really is family friendly. It doesn't just slap that label on there and then have, like a few face painting booths or something. Even during the panels, you would see some of the panelists would stop themselves before they completed a sentence.
They're like, because when I was freaking. Yeah, it's like there were a couple of them because I know I'm going to say it was probably Malfi was one that has some language. I even have to watch myself because I like to use all of the English language and sometimes mush words together that don't even belong. But it's really funny like that idea of like even the magician Niox. He's just like my guideline is no blood. So he's like, oh, no blood, because he can have gushing blood everywhere and all this stuff. And I was like, same reason I'm not booking Guar. I don't want to pay the cleanup.
Right. That was really multifaceted.
But the lack of blood adds to it, too, because you're still getting the shock value. You're still getting the, oh, my God, he just ate razor blades.
Yeah.
But then as he's pulling them out and it's coming out clean, nobody's going, shouldn't his mouth be bleeding? It's more impressive that it's not. And it's like, oh, that's interesting.
That's a really good point. Yeah, but I mean, even the feel of it when you're walking around, because sometimes you'll go to an event and they'll say it's family friendly, but you still have that feel about, is it really though? And you'll see a child walking around and you almost want to ask, what are you doing here? But it never felt like that. It did feel like there were a lot of child-friendly activities and even vendors that were like lots of little teddy bears and stuff being sold.
Yeah, so I have Precious Moments. Precious Moments has been there since the beginning, and she makes little bears. Yeah. And she'll have like Raven's bears and O's bears, because we know there's a husband or a wife being drugged through there against their will. Right. While not only was that weekend the worst weekend ever to have an event. We had an Orioles game happening on Saturday. So that was before they lost terribly the following week. But we had that and a Ravens game on Sunday. So we know who's being drugged through this event during the middle of the day. So she capitalizes on that, has all the spooky stuff, and then she'll have that stuff. We actually had a plushie company come through that had like sensory plushies. I think that's what they are. Yeah, so I don't know. They were like for special needs folks that need that sort of thing. I didn't question it. I just saw like surface level and I was like, oh, that's dope. Boom, you're in. I think the only thing that actually went out of the wheelhouse of the family friendly was poor Miss Linnea Quigley, the greatest scream queen of all time. She couldn't find enough Post-it note pieces to put over her booby parts on her photos. She tried because like people would buy it and then they would take the one with the Post-it note. Oh. And then they would take the Post-it note, throw it away or rip it off or whatever. And then she'd forget to replace it. So for like 20 minutes, there's this glorious spread of some child becoming an adult instantly going, oh, wow. But she was even like keeping up with that family friendly thing. She was trying her best because at another horror convention, she'd just have the whole spread there, not care.
Oh, yeah.
But for mine, she's like, well, I got to be mindful. Let me cover up all the good bits. And it's really interesting that's how, like, I don't make that a rule, but everybody just kind of played along with that, which is nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just because you do seem like such a well, you are just such a down to earth, easygoing guy. And so it makes it a lot easier to feel like, oh, I should do whatever Harry would probably want me to do. And you don't feel like you're pushed into it or that you've been
Yeah.
forced to sacrifice something that maybe you didn't want to have to sacrifice.
Well, it's funny too, because with being easygoing, I had for year 2, StellarCon had come through, and Kevin Hawk is the creator of StellarCon, and he also had a horror comic. So he had his own little booth there, and he was promoting StellarCon and all his other stuff that he does. And he come up to me like while we were trying to just slap the event together in 15 minutes that morning. We were given maybe a half hour to put all the tables and chairs together,
Oh,
and
no.
it still managed to happen. And he come up and he says, "Hey, is there a good? Would you mind if I hang my banner somewhere on the floor? Is it cool?" And I said, "Listen, there's the zip ties and duct tape. If you can hang it, it's yours, wherever you put it. I don't care where it ends up, as long as it's not like on top of the stage or somewhere goofy, or like over a doorway. Knock yourself out." That's how easygoing I am. I'm like, I don't care. Do it yourself. Whatever. It's too much to think about right now. But I am pretty easygoing. Like if I know there's weird table configurations that people like to do, I don't care. My whole thing is if you're staying within your box, I don't care. Do whatever. Knock yourselves out. Have fun. Get creative with your space. I don't care. I know there's a lot of venues that say, you can't move your table. Don't turn it sideways. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I don't care as long as it makes sense.
Or they're really picky about the type of adhesive you use and what color the adhesive is and how you're attaching it. And yeah.
Yeah, I do have the rules about sticking stuff on the walls, but we had, at least for Benfield, we had that mesh around most of the walls. So everybody could just get clips and clip them on the net.
Which is easy enough, yeah.
Which is just as easy. But yeah, for the tape, as long as it's removable and doesn't tear up anything, then I'm golden.
So when you are going through the vendor selection process, is it really a process so much, or do you tend to just accept whoever applies?
No, I actually go through each application. A couple of things, like I know that there are people that when you apply to be a vendor at some other places, they say if you don't include, full complete information, we'll be, disqualifying this application completely. I try not to be that guy. I don't want to because you didn't have your Etsy link didn't work or whatever, I try to find your business. If you come up and you're like, I make spookystuff.com and that doesn't work, but it turns out I spelled it wrong because you put the letter I, but it's EYE instead. I don't know. I'll figure it out and I'll find you. So I will go in there and I'll look at your stuff. I'll look at your products. I don't do MLMs. If you didn't notice, there wasn't a single Scentsy or whatever LuLaRoe or whatever the stuff is. And I'm sure that was wrong. Lululemon, one of those things. That's how bad that I don't want to do them. Like I do know if they come across, I have them all the time. I'll get about 40 Scentsy requests. And I'm like, yeah, there's 40, that's 40 people that are, and I get their name, address, city, state, zip. They are comfortably within 10 to 15 miles of each other. What is the point? What is the point of having, let's say I said yes to everybody that came across. I'd have an entire row of Scentsy at that rate.
It doesn't seem like it would be very profitable for any of them.
No, and I kind of just go through it and I look like when authors apply, I'm just like, well, who are you? What do you write? There are some that, I'm not going to tell you your book is bad. Maybe your story sucks. I don't know. I'm looking more for, is it marketable? Do you look like you're kind of together? Whether the content inside is just, bad, I don't know. But does it look like you tried? Or did you just slap this together and you're trying to go along for a ride and make a quick buck? So a lot of the authors that I go through, I kind of look at their Amazon page and and see like there's a difference between beginning author that has no idea what they're doing or author that doesn't care.
Yeah,
there's
that really is an important distinction. Yeah. So
and
if you had to guess, what percentage of people who apply do you accept versus do you tell them maybe this isn't the right event for you?
I pretty much do, like you said, do I just accept everybody? I almost do because the event draws in a certain type of people, which is awesome. I've had a couple that were just like really hard erotica with a very full nude cover, and I was like, there's another event for you that told me no. May I recommend you to them?
Send them their link.
But unfortunately, that book festival has since folded since the pandemic, so I'm it.
You won.
I won. But yeah, like I will look through, and I can't just shop for me. I can't just go, it sucks. I'm not going to read that. That's about a sorcerer or whatever. Yeah, I don't read that. I don't know what will be popular, who will be a hit.
That's very true.
Like this year we had Adam Caesar. That guy absolutely killed it.
Oh yeah, he did.
Curmudgeon Books, who sponsored him to bring him in, sold out of everything of his. Who knew? But I've had other authors that do the exact same thing without being one of the featured authors that people are demanding. So it's hard to say who's going to do what, because, I look at it, as long as it's together, that's good enough for me. You look like you're taking yourself serious. Fright Reads is definitely a community of authors. We're not here to ridicule you or tell you that you're stupid or you don't know what you're doing. This is an event that you can make friends with the 3 authors near you and make yourself better the next year.
Yeah, it does feel very welcoming and supportive there. Yeah, even other authors were shouting out other authors during their panels and saying, go buy from that guy, go buy from her.
Right?
You don't really see that a lot.
And they do that because, like, I believe Brian Paoni said it. He was probably up there on the panel shouting everybody out because he loves to do that. But his books might not be for you. Maybe you don't like sci-fi or time travel. Okay, well, instead of just saying, nah, never mind, he's going to just say, well, what are you into? Like, I'm into, like, I like murder stuff, serial killers. Be like, oh, well, Harry Carpenter is booth 3 over there. Head over there. He's got a great serial killer book. And I'll do the exact same thing. Ooh, I don't do murder or scary. You like time travel and sci-fi? You like Back to the Future? I got a guy for you. And we'll send people back and forth. It's a great tactic. And it works because somebody somewhere is going to get a sale, and then they'll return that favor for you. So we all believe in that and keep that going.
So before we run out of time, if you want to tell people when they can start looking for tickets for next year, or anything extra wow-worthy that you might want to hint at?
What a loaded question.
I'm not really doing it for myself.
So we're finalizing paperwork this week. So I will go live with everything probably early November. So like all the updates on where, when, and how, and what will be coming up shortly. So by beginning of November, we're looking at that. I can tell you that it is a newer venue. It is much better and more together and feels more official. It has parking. That's my other favorite thing. Yay, parking. Lots of parking, like several thousand parking spots parking.
Oh, yay.
So no excuses. No excuses. I won't get the message, you can't find parking. No excuses. If you can't find parking, you were wrong, and you're probably at the wrong place.
Yeah, you're in Pennsylvania.
We will have... So still trying to keep it family friendly. We do have, because the venue inside has full-blown restaurants as well as bars.
Ooh.
And they do allow the beverages on the floor. So that could be fun for the grown-ups and a lot of the authors that snuck in things last event. So we're going to have some different changes there. We're going to have a full big boy stage that will house, maybe multiple live performances. We're looking at a bunch of local Maryland acts as opposed to importing from another state. We're not opposed to that, but we're going to have some cool local music from Maryland. We're going to be looking at working with the, probably Anne Arundel Community College, as well as some high schools in the area, to take art and flash fiction writing submissions.
That'll be fun.
We're going to have like a little art gallery. We're going to have a writing showcase. Things like that are going to be new. So we're trying to involve a lot of community stuff. And it's looking to be the last weekend of September next year. So it'll all go live, like I said, in a couple of weeks, beginning of November. We'll have that all up and running. I say a couple of weeks because beginning of November-ish, which also equals December.
I did not know that.
Again, it's just one person running it. So as things trickle in and I get all the things together, the graphics and all the programming code and everything for the website, they will all start to trickle in. So sometime before winter really kicks off, we'll have all the Fright Reads 4 stuff ready to rock and roll. And most importantly, I can't disclose what he is, but we have a mascot for the year.
Yes,
we hinted a tiny little goofy picture that everybody's just kind of like, "Is that what? What is that?" My favorite thing was John Waters looks a little odd, and I'm like, "It's not John Waters," but I wholeheartedly love that response. But his name, you guys will get this before it comes out. His name is Eduardo Frightington III.
Ooh. Fancy and upscale.
So you get a name, but you don't know what it is yet. But everything will be unveiled in the coming weeks as we get everything together. Vendor tables will go live soon. We'll have the tickets for people to get centrally hubbed around frightreads.com. We'll make a Facebook event and all of the other traditional things that we've done. So it'll be easy to figure it out.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to it. Well, thank you again for being here. This was great.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. This is fun.
And that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Please check out the show notes for more info. Our next episode is another installment in the Editing Essentials series. Topic: the human side of editing. That's on Thursday. Please join Jennia and me.